Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome back, welcome to a Toonkind at 12 frames per second. I am Hex, and, oh boy, have we got a fun one for you. I am playing oh boy! I am playing the Thrall today, and oh boy, can't wait for them to interact, with their fun and funky counterpart, I guess. Hey, care to introduce yourself and who you're playing?
It's me, Arsum Sessions, also known as Avi, and today I am playing my fun, funky little puppet guy. Well, I say little, he's not little at all. I'm playing Mr. Misery, also known as Mr. M. So,
yeah. And oh boy, Mr. M had quite the event happen recently for him.
Quite a scheme.
Quite a scheme that got foiled? Question mark? Yeah, foiled. We'll say foiled.
Yeah.
Partially
foiled.
He doesn't have a lot of ink anymore, which, is always a good thing.
He had set up a ink collecting operation using resources provided by himself and the Yakuza to collect stolen ink from backgrounds and tunes in the town of Huesburg.
Yep.
And thanks to the efforts of a particular trio, his efforts have now been hindered greatly. Because that ink stealing operation is no longer running.
Which is good. They also
there are now too many eyes from the public to keep getting away with it.
Oh yeah. And also
they had to turn to other sources.
They also did kind of burn down the that area,
Yeah. They kind of burned down one of the main base of operation, but what they didn't do is they didn't get one of the machines.
Yeah.
So that one managed to get away.
And but the fun and funky thing here is one of those people involved happens to be a warlock at the time to a certain Thrall. Who kept getting a lot of really concerning pings between "oh god, terror, give me everything you got, I need to destroy," to a solid minute of perfect obedience. Yeah, I still think about that one. So, needless to say, Thrall was very curious about what the fuck was going on, and they stopped by to check it out. Which...
there wasn't much left when they got to the scene.
Yeah, there was not. There was not. But there was enough information for them to pull a name, so to speak. To link this to somebody they can go interrogate, because they managed to gather from all of this and through just kind of some inference and straight up they have 20 intelligence. What do you want from me? They're smart as hell. They know how to figure this shit out. Yeah, they've got 20 intelligence, they've got 18 wisdom, they know how to do this shit. The point is, they figured out, hey, I think my warlock might have gotten his ink stolen. I need that back. And so they're rocking up to a certain location they have managed to scry through a lot of painstaking effort to negotiate for that ink.
Actually, in that same vein of stuff, you actually were probably able to scry a lot easier with some of the materials you found. Because
Ooh.
you found in that whole smoking ruins of what once was that little Husa hideout, that little front of a building, the pieces of a construct.
Yes. It was a wooden construct.
Which, doesn't fare well in a fire, but there was enough of it in order to understand that, yes, this was a construct. How the heck it was broken into so many pieces and then burned. That you don't know.
Yep.
But it probably would have been enough to have narrowed down your scrying, enough to get a read on where roughly to investigate.
So they are, so Thrall has done their they have, I wouldn't say pulled out all the stops, but they've put in a significant amount of resource to locating this quote-unquote base of operations so that they can get back what's theirs. They're not going in guns blazing, but they are pretty much striding in like they expect to be here and kind of, and they don't expect, they expect to not have any pushback for being here. There we go. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, luckily with the Yakuza, they're very used to the idea of dealing with shady individuals, being shady individuals themselves. In fact, I would not doubt that this isn't the first time that Thrall's interacted with some folks in this particular group.
Probably not. And it's probably a fair assumption that, even the ones who aren't sure, or who are who the fuck is this, they're quickly, silenced, no, you don't fuck with that one.
Yeah,
Just, that's Thrall, you don't mess with them. And Thrall is just not paying them any mind. They're just strolling through.
Strolling through, unheated, unbarred.
Yep, unbothered, moisturized, in their lane, except they're not in their lane. They're weaving into somebody else's.
This is most definitely not their lane.
This is not their lane, but by God, they're making it everybody's problem. So, here is the follow-up question. In searching for all of this, would they have managed to get a name? Even if it is just Mr. Misery.
Honestly, yeah, definitely.
Definitely, okay.
Because throughout I expect the many attempts at casting a scrying spell, eventually, through success, you would have come across a real kind looking individual, a construct, a warforged. And through the many glimpses that you've gotten, you've caught her at times where she's managing different projects. In one, she's dealing with others for more ink. For another, she appears to be looking over these weird crystals that give off some sort of light. In another, she's on a phone call addressing this Mr. Misery. Which you have heard that name before, fairly recently, in fact.
Yeah. Huh.
Because you got pulled into the audience of a certain interview.
Yeah, they did. They, in fact, they did that, yep. So, needless to say, they hear that and then they go, I see now. Okay. So, they are strolling in. If anybody, makes any attempt to be anywhere close to them, they will in fact turn to address the goon, I guess it would be, because that's pretty much all that's there, I assume. But they would turn to address them, and in the I have business, in the most I have an appointment voice they can muster, would ask, or would just say, I am looking for Mr. Misery.
Oh, that guy? Yeah, you want to take a right, you want to take another left, you can't miss it. Just, look for the monochrome.
Thrall nods.
Whatever Mook was quickly addressing you, tries to casually walk by and then quickens their pace a little more once they're properly behind Thrall.
Yep. Thrall just nods and keeps walking. Taking those directions, like, yep.
And yeah, as they mentioned, it's not hard to miss, because it isn't hard to miss. The rest of this area, which is very, the Yakuza, they're all about bright colors and a certain aesthetic, that being circus clowns and whatnot nowadays. It's kind of like the further you go into the structure, the more the color just kind of seems to bleed out.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
Like all of the color has been drained out of it. Until what you're left with is an area that is just blacks and whites and grays.
That makes perfect sense with everything Thrall knows that's going on. Yeah, that makes sense. So they keep walking. They keep making their way with purpose. And I imagine eventually they do end up outside the workshop. Is there a door closed, or is it just kind of an open? What are we looking at here?
Door is definitely closed.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of unremarkable. It's just a wooden door that's shut up tight.
Okay. I think they'll err on polite. Thrall's gonna knock.
You do a little knock, and from behind the door there was like some muffled classical music playing. But as you knock, it kind of quiets down a bit, and you hear a few footsteps. It kind of sounds like heeled shoes. And eventually, the door opens to reveal not Mr. Misery, but Aspen.
I see.
She opens the door just a crack and like peeks outside, with a painted wooden eye. Do you have an appointment?
I am quite certain that your creator would want to speak with me. Please inform him the Thrall is here.
Very well. And then the door is shut, and you can hear the heeled shoes walk off for a little bit, followed by distant, muffled conversation. And then after a perhaps infuriatingly long pause, the handle of the door kind of turns in place, and the door creaks open with nobody behind it.
Yep. I would say Thrall is angry, but at this, like, literally they were just standing there motionless outside the door the whole time. They really don't give it. They don't give two shits. And when the door opens, they step inside, without any kind of hesitation. They're probably just, yes, these tropes, and just walk on in.
Delicious, yes.
Yep.
Right. can I get you to roll me a perception check?
Oh, I would love
Just to see what sort of stuff you can see.
I would love to. It's Avre is exclamation point roll, right? Or
Yep.
R.
Exclamation point R space and
Okay.
then whatever you need to do.
Cool. D20 plus... What's your perception again? That can't be right. Hold on. This thing deleted their fucking... it's okay. I need to convert Thrall. I haven't done that yet, so it's fine.
You're so
That's an
valid.
18.
Wow. 18. That's real good.
Yeah.
That is quite the modifier.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, but also
Their insight's higher.
mm-hmm. Roll. You have wandered into a room that kind of looks like a mishmash of a dozen different interests. There appears to be a corner of the room that's dedicated to a bunch of these wooden-looking mannequins. Some of them seem to be more posable, others seem to be hand-carved. Another corner of the room has a workbench which is littered with other wooden projects, some inventions of some kind. There is on the opposite side of the room, there's it's an organ of some kind.
You know what? Sure.
But upon closer inspection, it's a weird organ. It's got, like, things on it that should not be part of an organ. Potentially it's some kind of scientific instrument, but it's difficult to tell what it is from where you are.
Wow.
And perhaps the most obvious of them all is on, like, the right-hand wall, there is shelves and shelves, and aligned along them is dozens of bottles filled with colorful things, ranging from these weird wispy floaty things to bottles of ink. Lots and lots of ink.
Okay. Well, Thrall knows what they're interested in immediately. We'll see, you know.
Hang on, I'm gonna give a roll real quick to see how
boy!
Mr. M did on his stealth.
Oh boy! Will Thrall see you?
Oh, well, that's a natural 1.
Thrall sees
that's
you!
real funny. Uh-huh. I mean, it's kind of hard to miss him.
Yeah.
He's real tall.
He is really tall, but also, he's supposed to be, like, creepy and uncanny, and I feel like it were Thrall a toon, it would have worked. But as it stands, they just take the piss out of whatever he's trying to do. And interrupt it with just, I know you're there.
Well, couldn't even let me have a little bit of fun. Oh well. And, like, kind of, like, descending from the ceiling.
Yeah.
It's an abnormally tall ceiling now that you've noticed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
With threadwork kind of aligned in the rafters. He kind of descends, like, holding on to a collection of strings, and sets his feet upon the ground. And does, like, a little mock bow before he straightens himself up, and there's, like, a little crack as he tilts his head to one side. To what do I owe the pleasure?
It would seem that in the past week, my warlock ran afoul of one of your machines.
And like Mr. M does a very exaggerated thinking pose. Like he's moving like he's extremely animated,
Uh-huh.
perhaps maybe because he likes it being animated. Who knows?
Who knows?
You're gonna have to be a bit more specific. I have a lot of folks who run afoul of my machines.
Grayscale. Panicked, grew a bunch of eyes. Bumbling little wizard. Probably traveled with a monkey.
A monkey, a monkey. Oh, that one. I do seem to recall. That was some time ago.
Yes, he he has a habit of causing chaos where he goes. And it was brought to my attention that you were gathering ink and
And I am.
came into possession of his.
Well, I think that's where you might be mistaken. I don't have any ink from that particular encounter.
Thrall is going to roll an insight on that because, one, that's my favorite roll of theirs, and two, they don't trust like that.
31!
Plus 16, baby!
Oh, okay. There are no secrets to keep from this guy.
Yeah, this is all they're good at. You get them anywhere else and they're garbage, but hey.
They are getting information, and this is the best way to do it. Ask up front.
They're just like, I'm not gonna play games here. I need that ink back. You have my ink. No, I don't. X to doubt, and yeah.
Well, you take a moment to scan, Mr. Misery's body language. Like, look for those tall tale signs of, like, shifty eyes, or perhaps, like, a sudden change in posture. Perhaps a bead of sweat in a very cartoonish way. There isn't much of that. There is no sign of deceit.
Which,
instead, rather, just another curious tilt at the head.
Which odd, because they are quite certain that no, their warlock did have his ink siphoned. Of this they are certain. And so that leads them down a different avenue of, have you perhaps already used his ink, then?
Perhaps I would have had it arrived, but alas. Seems someone took their own claim before it could get to my doorstep.
Oh, is that so? You had...
I did get the report from Aspen that the delivery wasn't able to get to its intended location.
You almost get the impression that Thrall is sneering under that hood. Yes, I've noticed a bit of trouble. So I am not the only one who has trouble with the deliveries not arriving.
It's so hard to find good help with that nowadays.
Indeed it is. And Thrall seems to think a moment because, well, the reason that they came here is now proven to not be here. And they actually, after they seem to
It's just a moment It's just a moment of, well, shit, there goes my whole afternoon.
Yeah, pretty much just, man, I had a whole plan. I was going to be intimidating. I was threatening. I was prepared to be bad cop if need be. I was going to get the pet involved if I had to. Like, well, damn. All right. So their own head kind of tilts to one side a little bit. And and then it inclines in a way that, one might in a sort of apology. And they say, "It would seem then that I have imposed upon you unjustly. And for that, I apologize." Yes, honey.
There's kind of that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's kind of like a. It's hard to describe. Mr. M kind of moves in a way that suggests somebody contemplating.
Okay.
Not perhaps in irritation, but more in curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's literally like the only thing you've gotten off of this guy. No irritation, no nothing. Just curious.
Which, honestly, kind of surprising. Also a little refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not often that they, it's not often they go somewhere and aren't either treated with hostility or outright attacked.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand the need of keeping what's yours, but alas, I don't think I can help you much there.
A pity. I had even prepared to trade for it if the need arose.
That actually seems to catch his interest.
Mm-hmm.
A trade for what exactly?
Well, you had something of mine. I have a myriad of things that I am sure would have interested you. I was prepared to offer an exchange, a like for like, shall we say. I've gathered many things in my time alive. I'm sure there was something of interest in the archives.
Perhaps we need not have this interaction go without trade. Make it so that this whole thing wasn't a waste of time,
Thrall, in fact, now Thrall tilts their head in a curious manner. Oh? And what could you possibly have to offer me?
Many things. I am a curious mind myself. I have quite the collection on me as well. And he kind of, there is the implication of the things that are literally on the other side of the room.
Yep.
Just kind of sitting in jars, sitting pretty.
Mm-hmm. Thrall, does kind of like, it's probably one of those, it's an obvious gaze. Thrall follows the look and goes, "Ah, yes, I had noticed. What? I've never seen anything quite like some of these." And they will approach the jars and make motion to the ones that seem to have, like, wisps or, something clearly, like, not ink in them.
Mm-hmm.
What are these that you have here?
I thought you might be interested in that. Most people are. This, my friend. And Mr. M takes whatever bottle the Thrall happens to be looking at and ever so neatly bends down to pluck it off the shelf and kind of present it to them.
Yep. Like a bottle of wine.
Like a fine bottle of wine.
A
This is a talent.
talent?
A talent.
You get the equivalent of an eyebrow raise.
All of the experience of somebody's life work in an easily portable and usable method of consumption.
Now,
This one in particular is sword fighting.
Thrall is... You do, he does get the impression that Thrall, like, he has gotten Thrall's interest. And they're very much like, looking at it, they're examining it, like their head tilts one way and then it kind of goes the other as they seem to be studying it, trying to like puzzle this out on their own first, in the few seconds he's been explaining. And then they say, "Now, how on earth were you able to pluck a talent from someone?"
Trade secret. Unless, of course, we can trade for information.
Well then, I do believe that is something that we can negotiate. Tell me, what other talents do you have? Perhaps there is one that I might want.
Oh, a great many. We have... Are you pulling up a list of things?
Yep.
He starts rattling off of like a good few dozen from memory. Like the ability to swim, the ability to bake, cooking,
sword fighting, dancing.
Sword fighting.
Yep.
Magic actually comes up as one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Can you imagine being the poor sucker who lost their ability to spellcast to this guy?
Just, man. Oh. Oof.
Yeah.
And Thrall is, yep, they're taking all of that in. They're listening, and they kind of nod along. And when he finishes this list, because they're going to let him just rattle on as long as he wants, they do eventually say, all right. So in exchange for, let's say, a talent and information, what do you want in return?
Good question. See, I've never traded with the likes of you before, so I'm not entirely sure on what you can offer.
Oh, I have... I was not lying when I said I have an entire archive at my disposal. I have been collecting and curating it for millennia now, and information long lost to past erasures is kept within.
Oh, that catches good old Mr. Misery's attention immediately.
Yep, that's what I figured. I have spells lost.
Erasures, you say?
Oh, yes. I have spells lost to time. I have things I have forbidden magic that has been attempted to be removed from history. I have artifacts. I have papers. I have things as simple as recipes in there, but all lost to time.
Very interesting.
So tell me, Mr. Misery, what are you looking for?
A good many things. I'm in the business currently of figuring out how to make something. So perhaps there's something in there that can speed that along.
It depends. Constructs, naturally, I have an entire section dedicated to making constructs and homunculi of a variety of types. There is also a section for summoning and binding. And, well, creation is never a, Actually, I need to double check. What is the school of magic that deals in creation? It's not, is it abjurate? No.
Conjuration, I think.
Conjuration. Thank you. And I have I have multiple sections on various forms of conjuration magic that could relate to what you are looking for.
Potentially.
And naturally, all of this is relating to Inkwell, as Inkwell is the sufferer of these erasure events.
That is good, considering I'm in the business of tunes currently. But I have my own fair share of constructs, as you can see. And he kind of, there's just kind of the unspoken air in the room of Aspen.
Yeah,
who's just kind of in the corner.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who's just standing there.
Actually, she's like kind of currently sat at a little desk table.
Aww.
At a typewriter. She appears to be making a record of what's being said.
Aw, she's like a little court reporter.
Yeah.
Aww.
Ain't that sweet?
Ain't that cute? So Thrall hears business of tunes and making something. And they kind of tilt their head. Now, I am normally not one to assume. However, if I were to make an educated guess here, the process of making a tune is generally not well documented, but it is a generally known thing that there is some, shall we say, spontaneity in the process. Am I to understand you are wanting... Am I to understand you are wanting to remove that?
I think it would just be a little bit more convenient if we can control when we make them, rather than wait for it to happen. It's all well and good if when belief causes something to be created, but what good is it when it's done in very untimely manners?
Thrall nods along like, yes, that much I understand. I personally have not delved into the creation of tunes. However, I currently have a servant in the manor who was heavily focused on a similar process, and I am certain, between their research and what I have in the archives, I could probably find something that interests you.
Now that certainly does sound intriguing.
What, pray tell, are you looking for specifically?
Well, and he goes back to doing that, like, that sort of similar exaggerated thinking pose. This guy seems to really lean into it.
He is leaning into all of that emoting, and Thrall is just standing here.
But you can roll another insight if you'd like.
You know what? Sure. Me like big number. Let's roll it.
Roll big number.
Roll big number. 27.
27. Ooh, delicious. Eats that. Perhaps it's because you've gotten to study him for a good while now, including the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Study that body language. It's a lot of performance, mostly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a lot of putting on the show of the emotion, but none of the actual emotion.
Okay.
So while he's able to suggest the idea of curiosity or anger, frustration, etc., he doesn't appear to be feeling it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thrall actually can kind of relate to that, because when they do readings, they, do actually, like, tend to emote for the sake of the customers, so...
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they can kind of understand that.
Mm-hmm. Because it'd be real weird to get a reading and they're just kind of listing it like a grocery list.
Yeah, pretty much. There needs to be they listen, they understand there is a little bit of flair involved when people get their fortunes told, so they lean into that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This is why they actually have a positive modifier for their performance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's not great, but it's there.
Yeah. Eventually, Mr. Misery, with just a grin, perhaps I can show you a little bit of my work. That way we can get a good basis on what I might need,
Very well, then. And they make a motion of lead the way.
Mm-hmm. And with almost a sense of eagerness, despite the fact that he doesn't quite feel it, Mr. Misery snaps his fingers a little bit and gestures with his hand, and Aspen, as if she was expecting this,
Mm-hmm.
hops up from her seat, takes a pause in her writing, and goes over to the shelf where a lot of the bottles of ink is, and starts pulling them down from the shelf.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
As Mr. Misery actually goes towards the corner of the room where kind of all those mannequins are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He goes over to towards the center of it, leading Thrall along, and kind of in the center of this ring of different projects, dozens of projects, there is a little metal table with a mannequin kind of strapped to it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks like a weird combination of a woodcarver's area and a Dr. Frankenstein lab.
Horrifying. I love it.
Uh-huh. Currently on the metal table is in fact one of these wooden mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
It's surrounded by a good number of tools and a good number of wooden shavings. You can see that it's being slowly, painstakingly carved into a three-dimensional shape. There's kind of a long, pointed, perhaps a muzzle, a snoot of some sort, but it's unpainted, or at least not unfinished, from where Thrall is standing.
Okay. They're taking all of this in, and should they roll maybe what if they wanted to kind of roll a knowledge to see this? What they gonna roll? What the Thrall rolling?
Oh gosh, what would they roll? Because this is like a Frankenstein's monster kind of situation we got going on.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
what Mr. M's trying to do. Best, I would say potentially, either nature or arcana. Maybe both.
Maybe both. Ooh, okay. Well, let's do the arcana first, because that's the better one, obviously. And then we're gonna do the nature, and it's not gonna be as good. Ooh, the arcana ain't great either.
A 13.
Yeah. Hang on.
It's a mannequin.
It sure is a mannequin, and then here's the nature. Wow! Do you want a 3 or a 3?
That's hilarious.
Incredible. I'm gonna flavor this as Thrall just, like, doesn't have an idea of, like, they understand Mr. Misery is wanting to make a tune, but because they themselves are not interested in that avenue, they do not know the science or anything behind it. Hell, the fact that they're probably considering it a science is to their deficit. Let's be honest. And so they're trying to look at this analytically, logically, scientifically, and it. Yeah, sure, that do be a mannequin that Mr. Misery's making and probably gonna funnel some magic into.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, looking at it in a scientific way is definitely to Thrall's detriment, because when it comes to tunes and, like, characters and stuff like that, you gotta look at it very artistically.
Yeah.
This is a matter of, like, designing a character from the ground up.
Yeah.
He's just starting with something he's familiar with. Wood. Considering he used to be made of the stuff.
Yeah, he knows that, and so Thrall is observing this with their limited understanding of what's going on here, and they do eventually they conclude that he's probably trying to make a Hausen tune, because, well, otherwise. But they observe all of this, and then they turn to Mr. Misery, or they turn their head to Mr. Misery, and they eventually say, I admit, I had assumed the process would be a bit more less structured than what I am seeing.
Oh, it's sort of like a dance, really, trying to figure out how this all works. I'm starting with what I know, perhaps eventually leading into other aspects, but
you get a head tilt.
It's a lot of figuring things out that I don't quite grasp myself.
Oh, in what way?
I know the building blocks that I need. I know what I need. It's just a matter of putting it all together. That's the problem.
Again, their head tilts the other way. It's not a very, and I should probably emphasize, it's not a very noticeable head tilt. It's, but
it's slight.
It's the slightest tilt. But, you know, when they're motionless, it's very, it stands out. But it's very clear they're trying to puzzle out what he's saying. And eventually they do concede, I fear I might not be understanding what you truly are working at, then. Care to walk me along?
Oh, of course. When it comes to tunes are made of a number of different core pieces. Every tune has color, every tune has sound, every tune has light. And it's all put together with a little bit of inspiration.
Thrall
And I
nods,
have
like,
plenty of
go.
color, as you can see.
And they nod.
It's just, again, a matter of putting it all together. And like taking a closer look now that Mr. M still kind of given that vague description. Looking at the like surrounding mannequins, you can kind of see that these are all kind of attempts that have not gone well.
Ah, delightful.
Yeah, there's kind of one mannequin that's kind of like, it looks kind of flopped over to one side. It looks like it melted somehow.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Yum.
Mm-hmm. Another one like appears like it had been started carving, but turned out too stiff, so it was set aside for later.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of them look like they're for puppetry, some of them look like they're just statues. It's a lot. It's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. And Thrall is looking at all of this, and then eventually they seem to think, and then they reach into the bag of holding on their hip. It seems like they're rummaging around in there for a hot second. And this is literally me just going, yeah, they can do this because fuck you, I guess. They produce what looks like a notebook. And it doesn't look like it is, from the audience's perspective anyway. Mr. Misery would not know this, but the notebook is not written in their hand. It is, in fact, written by somebody else, it looks like. And they seem to flip through it quickly before they stop. And they don't hold it out to Mr. Misery, but they do kind of, bringing it to attention, and they say, I have here the notes of one Henrik Danthew on how they create their duplicates. Perhaps that might help you get past some of the initial creation barrier.
Ooh, certainly seems interesting. And like he kind of like crouches down, like the one big glowing eye, kind of like almost like trying to peer at the page.
And they can't hold it up because, Thrall is only 4'5".
Oh yeah, no, Mr. M stooped down.
Yeah, but they do hold it back in a kind of motion of, no, knowledge is not free now.
Mr. M kind of like straightens himself up a bit and puts his arms up in a "you caught me" kind of way. Very well. A trade then.
I will let you have these notes along with, and they seem to think a moment. They're like, their head tilts almost like they're listening to something. Along with 4 more. This is me trying to think of how you would define, like, a scroll or, like, a book or 3 or 4 more articles of information from my archive.
Interesting.
And in exchange, I would like a talent. And your notes on the matter.
Of course. Seems like a fair trade indeed. And Mr. Misery, because he's a toon now, kind of reaches behind his back and rolls hammer space.
Oh my god, I would die if he fumbled.
It was almost a failure.
Fucking incredible!
The dice don't like him. It's always been a thing with Mr.
Fair.
He's rolled twice and he's gotten a 1 and a 2.
Nice.
But yes, he does procure notes of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely not as old looking as some of the stuff that the Thrall has seen, I bet, in their archive.
Oh yeah.
But they do look a good few years old, perhaps a little bit sun damaged.
Mm-hmm. Thrall nods, and they actually, they, excuse me, they do offer the notebook out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause they've got their own copy, but they took this one, cause, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they offer the notebook out to Mr. Misery.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Misery will hand over his own notebook and just very delicately pluck the one that Thrall's got from their hand.
Yep. And and then their gaze kind of glances back to the talents. And oh boy, this is gonna be a what would they even fucking take?
What would they even want?
That's the other question of what would they want?
I mean, ideally they would want something that they could surprise somebody with.
That's exactly, because it's one of those, they've got plans going. They've got plans brewing. They've got a big ol' end game approaching. The twist has the wrench hasn't been thrown yet, shall we say. They have not lost their warlock.
Mm-hmm.
But that's very much like things are happening, and so they need to be prepared for that. And so I'm trying to think of what they would take. And I honestly think, for just the sake of, you know, the mystery, I think they approach a bottle. Are they labeled in any way, or would Mr. Misery have, like, pointed out which ones are which while, you know, listing them off?
They probably would be labeled, but in a system that wouldn't quite make sense to Thrall just looking at it.
Okay. Then...
But it doesn't really matter, because as Thrall is approaching it, Aspen actually walks up to help point out which ones are which.
Oh, even better. So, Thrall is delighted. What good help. If only their help could be as helpful.
Maybe they should try making one.
They kind of are.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, they approach the bottles. They are perusing them like one might, you know, a bookstore. And eventually they select one. I'm not going to say what one it is. That'll be a surprise for later. But they do select one.
Yes, good, delicious. I would like to know.
I will
Me
tell you that
personally.
once I figure it out.
Valid.
But they do in fact select a talent. And then they turn back to Mr. Misery with a nod of and they offer a sending stone.
Mm-hmm. Kind of with that eagerness again, Mr. Misery reaches down with comically oversized glove.
Yeah. Yep.
And pick it up with a none too subtle grin.
When you have gone through these notes and desire more, you need only call. I will permit you a short period in the archive, supervised, to select your other pieces of notes.
Very well. Thank you. This has been most enlightening.
This has been much more fruitful than I anticipated it would be.
So I suppose, while I have you here, and we are in the business of trades, perhaps another bit of knowledge that's different from the ones that we are currently trading.
Thrall tilts their head. What do you have in mind?
Well, I'm in the process of gathering all I need for, well, creation. And he gestures again to the myriad of attempts.
Yeah.
Which seem like straight up body horror for a Toon.
Yeah.
I find that it is very difficult for me to get my hands on inspiration. The substance, not the, well, you know.
Thrall nods, like, yes, they understand.
Perhaps in the future we could trade something else for knowledge on where I can find something that procures that missing little detail for me.
He can see Thrall is clearly thinking about this in a, do I have this resource even available? And there's a long pause where they seem to think, and eventually they say, I will cast out some lines and see if I can find anything of that nature for you.
Delightful.
Here is hoping this is the start of what might be a wonderful partnership.
Oh, let's hope.
Well then, I shall not keep you from your work any longer. Thank you again.
Not a problem. I'm glad we were able to make this worthwhile.
Indeed, I am too. And Thrall will give not a full bow, but they do give like a bow of their head. The very polite.
Mr. M.
Yep, go ahead.
Mr. M will meet that with a full bow.
Nice.
He's the performative type of the two of them.
Oh, very much so. And I think with that, Thrall is going to basically, like, they're going to make their way out. Not hurried, just casual, you know. Yep. I look forward to
Aspen
our future
will-
dealings.
Aspen kind of follows alongside to see you out the door.
Yep. Just to make sure, it's also polite. Yeah. And once they're out of the workshop, they teleport back to the manor.
I will say, as Thrall is about to leave, Aspen will speak up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Should you require something to actually make use of the notes my master has given you, do not hesitate to call. And she hands a little slip of paper.
Oh. Thrall will take it. They have that now. What is the
Aspen's phone number?
Excellent. I'm sure Thrall has like an old rotary phone. They take that. They give Aspen an equal like little bow of like thanks, and then they will be off.
And then they will be off.
And then they will be off. And I think that might be a good place to end it. Yeah.
With notes exchanged.
Notes exchanged. Ah.
Yes. Good. Yes.
Yes.
Oh
man.
All
All
right.
right.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I am going to stop the recording. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.